Welcome back to the O Show, everything crypto every single day. I'm Wendy O. We have a wonderful guest today. We actually have Chris Klein. He is a co-founder of Bitcoin IRA, who is a channel partner of the O Show. And the reason why we have Chris on is because Bitcoin IRA does some really cool stuff that I think you guys should know. I personally like to use traditional financial instruments to kind of help offset taxes. But of course, you do need to verify with your CPA. But we got Chris here. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself, a little bit about Bitcoin IRA, and answer some pretty important questions that you all may have. How are you doing today, Chris?
Wonderful, Wendy. Thanks for having me.
Going on. So tell us a little bit about Bitcoin IRA, even though the name is kind of self-explanatory, right? But tell us a little bit about it.
That's true. Yeah, no, we're on a mission to help Americans retire. We live in this world of modernity where we need to be thinking outside the box. And for folks like you and I and your audience that are crypto beyond crypto enthusiasts, some of our OGs, veterans. I got some gray hairs from my decade in the crypto space. Our goal is to help folks invest in the same cryptos that they love to invest in, but use the tax advantage and tax deferred settings that the U.S. government gives us if we just pay attention to the rules that are at play for us.
Yeah, I totally agree. And my CPA, we're pretty heavy on that. Is investing in different types of things that allow us to essentially pay less in taxes or pay the same amount in well, yeah, no, pay less in taxes, but be able to get more of that back at a certain time frame. Because again, if you know how to work the system and operate within the constraints of what is available, you can do pretty well. But let's go ahead and get into some of the questions I have for you. So talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on race to reserve and the public servants buying Bitcoin and crypto.
Yeah, this is an exciting, I guess, phenomenon that's taking place over the last year. We've been in this space where we were kind of, I say, battered, beaten, and forgotten or left behind as the crypto folks, and now all of a sudden we're the hot kid on the block. We're white hot, and to me, this race to reserve really shows beyond just the institutional waves. The race to reserve is in nation states. The U.S. I think Cynthia Loomis put a bill up today or yesterday for the goal of 1 million Bitcoin, which is almost, I think, it's a pretty solid percentage of the overall Bitcoin that's available. And it's important to remember this is a scarce asset. I mean, I hate to, I don't have to remind your audience, there's 21 million that'll ever be mined. But to have nation states, not just the United States, but others to try to keep up, that's just a powerful move, as well as now corporations and institutions saying, hey, do I want to be the next Mike Saylor? Do I need to be putting these things on my treasury, my balance sheet? Not just Bitcoin, but we've got announcements this week for Ethereum, Litecoin, possibly Solana on treasuries. And let's not forget, us retail folks, this is the people's currency. This is the democratization of money. We're adding to our personal balance sheets every time we stack sats. And in a finite asset class, unlike the US dollar that will be likely printed to oblivion, this is the place to be. And watching this drive, what's also interesting is people say, well, if everybody's buying Bitcoin, why isn't it going up? Well, they're not just jumping on an exchange and making trades, right? They're doing this strategically. And if you can get in at the same time or before their major announcements of accumulation, that's when you start seeing that FOMO really kick in.
No, I definitely agree. And I love that you mentioned Solana because I just saw an announcement that you guys made over on X, but I want to get to that towards the end. But next question,
Right.
because this is one is a kind of important. We do have a retirement crisis in America. I want to know what you think about it and how can crypto help?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a really good study that came out from Northwest Mutual a few years ago. They studied about 2,000 people before COVID and asked them, how much money do you think you need to retire comfortably? And back just in 2018, it was $500,000. Today, last year, they surveyed the same people and the number skyrocketed to over $1.5 million in just a short few years. And that's because we can't keep up with rising costs. Whether we want to admit it or not, we can look at the government numbers and say inflation might be up, might be down, but it's cumulative. So it's like, I love to parallel it to a guy asked his buddy, hey, if I lost 3 pounds this year, why do I still feel overweight? Well, because for the last 5 years, you gained 15 pounds and then you gained 12 pounds and then you gained 10 pounds and then you gained 7 pounds. But congratulations, this year, you didn't gain any weight, but you're still fat. And that's kind of the reality of inflation when you look at it that way, is we'd have to go into a deflationary mechanism in order to cut cost and cut some of these impacts on us as American savers. So we're sitting here, our currency is losing value, it's being printed to oblivion, prices are rising. You can't. This is in our grandfather's economy. We can't just go and buy GE stock and live off of dividends for our retirement. We have to think outside the box. We need a modern portfolio theory that includes alternatives like real estate, gold, and I think most importantly, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. This is the wave of the future. And if you need to get started with your retirement, catch up with being behind, because almost everybody's behind. Think about the bills you and I have to pay. You got student loans, you got mortgages, we both have kids, we've got student tuitions for them. We've got just it goes and goes and goes. The last thing you're thinking about is retirement. And for folks like you and I, which we're in the gig world, we don't have a corporation behind us that's pumping money into a 401k for us. And a lot of corporations.
I'm going to have to stop you there because my 401k that I was investing in for 10 years and I stopped investing in 2017, it is still worth the same it was back in 2017. But carry on.
Well, did you leave it behind at the old employer?
I have access to it. It's in another firm is managing it, but the fact of the matter is they're traditional financial assets and they're just kind of stagnant. And the Bitcoin I bought in 2017 at $7,500 is now worth.
Searching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So to be able to think outside that box and use these alternatives that haven't been available to us before, while still keeping that beautiful tax umbrella deferment and tax free. I'm sure that you've probably been preached a lot, and I know a lot of your audience. The Roth IRA is one of the most powerful tools out there today, because it gives us that. If you're a real believer in crypto, you could turn your 5,000 into 5 million and pay zero, and I mean that with a zero, zero taxes when you retire on distribution.
No, definitely. And since we're talking about Roth IRAs, I actually want to ask you, segue a little bit. Can you explain the difference between a crypto IRA versus an ETF? Because again, most of us did not get traditional financial education in high school, in school. A lot of our parents were super busy. So I didn't really learn about a lot of these different ways to invest and whatnot until I actually got Bitcoin and I read the white paper and I taught myself. But let's go ahead and share with the audience, what's the difference between a crypto IRA and an ETF?
Yeah, so obviously ETFs, I applaud them. I remember being on the Yahoo Finance back in 2019 when the first that an ETF was coming, and we waited quite a few many years for it to come to fruition last January. I applaud them. I think that they're part of why we're seeing this wave of institutional adoption and we're seeing some of this mainstream play, because it's easy to get into. But there's some key differences between that and having the real thing. We tout real crypto, real people at Bitcoin IRA. So you're getting access to actual crypto inside of a segregated wallet, insured for your retirement account, as opposed to, I kind of call it a paper proxy certificate. I had a guy that used to work for me that would say, if the boat's going down, do you want a life jacket or a life jacket certificate? Which one are you reaching for? And the real crypto in an IRA is that life jacket. It's that ability to have the real asset. Now, let's take that further. ETFs are stocks, basically. So they're shares. They're going to trade Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 with the rest of the stock market. 90% of the transactions that happen on our platform happen after hours and on weekends, because we all know what happens. Crypto runs and does wild things on Sunday afternoons or on Saturday mornings. I need to have that flexibility. And then when you reach that age of retirement, if you're holding an ETF, you have to sell it to cash. You have to get dirty dollars for your ETF and then distribute them. But if you are in a crypto IRA, you can actually do what's called an in-kind distribution. We can send the crypto to your private wallet of your choice. We'll do it securely through whitelisting, micro testing, and all the things in between. But you'll be able to move that for longer term holding than the real thing. I think for true crypto believers, I prefer to have a real tangible. I guess tangible is a hard word to use there, but real crypto inside my retirement planning than something that's derived in the dollar over time.
No, I totally agree. And I don't know if you can answer this or not, but I'm going to ask. But what is the tax advantage element to, crypto IRAs and all of that?
Yeah, so well, first, if you are using, there's two main types, traditional and Roth. We'll just unpack those. With the traditional, if you contribute funds to a traditional IRA, which you should contribute every year, you get, if you're under 50, $7,500. If you're over 50, $8,000, that the government says you have until April 15th to contribute for the last tax year. This expires, so you can only do it that time. You can't come 5 years from now and catch up with these payments. And if you do a traditional, you're able to lower your tax burden by the amount that you contribute. So if you have $100,000 income and you contribute 8,000, you now have $92,000 of income that's taxable. Great tool to lower your tax burden. And then also when you're inside the retirement account and you're buying and selling and trading, no matter what you're trying to play off the volatility, some might be hodlers, other might be day traders, but at some point you'll probably do a trade or two in your cycle. You're going to pay capital gains implications for those. Every trade we do in crypto, whether even if we're swapping from ETH to XRP or back to Solana, every one of those is a taxable event that we have to ante up to Uncle Sam for. If you're in a retirement umbrella, no tax, no gains on, or capital gains on any of those tax moves. And then I think the bigger one is the Roth. So when you put the money in at the beginning with a Roth, you don't get that lowered tax bill at the front side, but no matter how big it gets, when you take that money out when you're 59 and a half or older and you're in retirement age, you'll pay zero taxes on those distributions. It's a tax-free growth initiative that was actually designed in the 1970s by Edward J. Roth from the fine state of Delaware because we had a savings crisis in America.
Oh, interesting. A little bit of history corner here. Okay, got some other questions about Bitcoin IRA. Okay, and also too, you guys, anything we talk about as far as it goes to taxes, please double check with a CPA or tax expert in your local jurisdiction. Just because, like I'm in California, for example, Chris is in a different state, and the laws are different. The way you can kind of navigate this, so it's always good to have somebody that that's licensed and regulated near you. And I know I do a lot of the disclosures, but it is important. Got to remind you guys. All right, now back to Bitcoin IRA. So you guys do have staking. I believe you guys just announced Ethereum and ADA staking recently, right?
Yes,
Then
and we did that 4th of July week, actually.
woo. And you guys just made another announcement today. So tell us what that announcement is, and then let us know how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just announced today Solana has launched. So that's our third coin that's stakeable inside the platform. I'm really excited about this one. I'm a big fan of Solana. I think it's a great chain and it's a good competitor. It's going to bring a lot of great utility to the overall ecosystem. But staking overall, whether it's Cardano, Ethereum, or Solana, our goal is to get to 15 stakeable assets by the end of this year. So there are others that are out there. But it's really, I mean, as most people know, staking is your way to be a part of building a better blockchain. So you're contributing your assets to the blockchain network to help with verification of transactions, and you're getting a reward for basically putting your assets to work, putting my stake to work. What I love about this is, unlike the staking 1.0 that was 2022, 2023, where we all saw what happened with Alameda, SBF, FTX, all those things, the rehypothecation, those things, nothing leaves the ecosystem. So if you are to stake your Solana on the platform today, it would stay inside your segregated insured wallet with BitGo, and you would be staking to the network, and our custodian, our trust custodian, would maintain complete indicia of ownership. So no additional risk. The only risk is, like, it's very rare, the slashing that can happen on rewards if a transaction isn't verified or completed. But yeah, to me, we have adoption and institutionalization of the asset class is happening. This is now the financialization of the asset class, where people are able to safely make yield on assets they're holding long term. I would say the biggest warning I have for staking is you have a bonding period. So if you stake your Solana, you can't sell your Solana until you unstake your Solana. And that's true everywhere in the network. It's not just a Bitcoin IRA. And that's usually, it depends on the network, but it ranges somewhere between 2 to 4 days of unbonding the asset. So if you are thinking that you have a price target for Solana and it may hit in the next week or so, maybe staking's not for you. But if you're a long-term hodler thinking you're waiting for 10 or 20x that's going to hit Solana later this year or even next year or even maybe 4 or 5 years from now, what better way to make back yield as Solana too? That's the best part. You're not getting paid in dirty dollars. You're getting paid your rewards in Solana, the coin you already love.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you about security, but you mentioned BitGo, and BitGo is absolutely amazing. Great, they do a lot of really great work in the space. So I'm not going to hit harder on security, but just for fun, I want to know really quickly. What do you think the all-time high for Bitcoin will be this year in 2025? Not 2026, but 2025.
Oh, it's a great question. And actually, I'll tout it with a slide. In April, I was in New York on Yahoo Finance. This was when Bitcoin was at 76,000, mind you. And I proudly, with my chest out, said 180K this year is what I think that Bitcoin's going to hit. And I actually last year when I was at the Nashville conference, I said that we would hit 100K by Christmas Day, and I was 2 weeks off. It hit 100K before Christmas. So I'm not saying I'm a fortune teller. But I think there is some really good fundamentals to why we would hit there. And also, you and I both know from being in a few cycles, there is a crypto beast of FOMO that comes into play. And I don't think that we've completely awakened the retail mania that's happening. I'm only getting 3 or 4 random text messages a day from friends and family. When that hits about 10 to 15 every day, then I know we're well on our path to 180 this year.
Yeah, I'm starting to see my numbers on like TikTok and Facebook and Instagram ramp up, and that generally indicates to me where we are in the market. But before we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to add? I mean, we covered the really big announcement with the staking, with Solana staking. You guys already offer Ethereum and ADA staking, which is wonderful for those of you that love ADA. I know a lot of my audience likes ADA and Mr. Charles H. But anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Well, all of us over at Bitcoin IRA absolutely love you, Wendy. We love the O Show. And as a result, we have a Summer of Freedom program that we put together. And we're offering for your audience, if they click the link that you're providing or call in, the beauty is we have real people. You can actually talk to humans about
Love.
retirement. And I memorize the number. It's 877-936-7175. If you call at any time, remember to mention that you're from the Wendy O Show, and you can earn up to $1,000 in rewards for funding and starting your Bitcoin IRA account with us during this Summer of Freedom campaign.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you so much. And of course, you guys, if you don't want to call, you don't have to. If you're scared of your phone, it's okay. We've got the link down below. Make sure to go ahead and follow Bitcoin IRA on all socials. Take advantage of some of the tools that they do offer. Get with your CPA, get with your financial advisor, whatever you need to do. But if you're interested in crypto, I highly recommend what they're doing. They're providing a really, really awesome service. And Chris, thank you so much. And big shout out to the Bitcoin IRA team. And again, you guys, if you want to get some of these rewards, then the link will be down below, or you can go ahead and call on the number Chris gave us. I didn't memorize it, so don't get mad at me, but you guys could always watch it again and get it, and we'll put it down below. Again, Chris, thank you so much for joining.